We thought you weren't interested in going, dear. My mother Lorraine's words still echo in my head. She said them in that sweet, nauseating tone, on speakerphone straight from Central Park, as if she were offering me tea on some ordinary Sunday, and without explaining why my family had boarded a flight to New York without me. I was at home. Alone. Luggage packed, a Broadway ticket bought with my own money, confirmed flights, the way they told me. I woke up early that Saturday ready to catch a taxi to the airport, but when I called to ask where they were, my father Ron answered and said, "We're already here in Manhattan. The city is amazing." For a moment I thought it was a prank. I felt like an idiot. Before we continue with the story, I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is very important to us. Thank you so much. My name is Maya, I'm 29 years old, and up until that day I still tried to be part of the family. Even with all the signs that they had never really seen me that way. Since I was little, I lived in the shadow of my half-brother Trent. He's 3 years younger, but he was always the center of attention. Handsome, confident, always with an excuse ready, always with some brilliant idea that nobody questioned. While I was killing myself studying, he would drop out of courses, change plans, and yet be treated like a misunderstood genius. For years I thought the problem was with me, that I needed to try harder, be lighter, more fun, less intense. But deep down the truth is that I was simply useful. The daughter who solved everything. The one who enrolled Trent in school, who corrected Ron's tax return, who helped Lorraine organize parties that she later claimed were Trent's idea. The trip to New York was an old plan, something we had talked about for a long time. A collective gift to celebrate Ron's 60th birthday. I saved money for months, researched itineraries, organized the sightseeing spots. When Lorraine said she would take care of the ticket purchase because she had accumulated miles, I didn't even question it. He always does that. Always finding a way to control everything behind the scenes. On the night before the trip, I sent a message asking about the flight time. She replied, "Confirmed. 2 p.m. on Sunday." But the flight was on Saturday. And they knew it. Except me. When I realized, I tried calling several times. First, Trent didn't answer. Then Ron answered as if nothing had happened. And then came that call from Lorraine. Maya, relax. We thought you weren't excited. You always seem so busy, so we decided to go on the trip. You understand, right?" Well, I didn't understand. Not then. And not for many days afterward. I sat paralyzed on the couch for hours. Then I cried. Then I laughed, hardly believing it. I opened Instagram and there they were. A selfie in Central Park, captioned, "Family is everything." Family. Without me. I spent the weekend between anger, incredulity, and a kind of sadness I had never felt. A mix of abandonment and humiliation. I wasn't a spoiled child. I was an adult woman who had helped build that trip. And I was erased. On Monday, still unsure whether I wanted to confront or cut everyone off, I received a message from Harper, my best friend since college. I saw Trent's post. "Did you go too, or were you left out?" "They left me out on purpose." "Why? That's sick." She showed up at my house later that day with pizza, wine, and a shoulder ready to listen. I cried again. But between the tears, something began to change. I said out loud, "I'm done. I'm tired of explaining myself. Of trying to prove myself. Of competing for a place that never really existed." That night, I made a list of everything I had done for them over the years. The bills I paid. The times I solved problems that weren't mine. The sacrifices I made. The lies I swallowed. The space I gave for Trent to shine, while I was labeled too practical. And there, in the silence of my room, with Harper asleep on the couch and the pizza cooling on the table, I made a decision. If they chose to exclude me, then now I would choose to free myself. But it wasn't enough to just step away. I needed to show them, and myself, that it was no longer acceptable to use me, to erase me, or to put me in the background. And yes, when they returned, they would no longer find the Maya they always knew. They came back 3 days later. They arrived excited, with bags from Times Square, comments about the Lion King musical, and 1,000 stories that didn't include my name at any point. Lorraine sent me a voice message from the airport saying, "We'll drop by when we can, dear. Trent wants to show you his new sneakers." I didn't reply. Not out of anger, just for clarity. Harper had slept over at my place again the previous night. She made coffee and looked at me with that knowing expression, as if she already knew what I was about to do. "Are you going to pretend nothing happened?" "No. I'm going to let them know exactly what they did. But on my terms. The next day I started moving pieces. I went back to work as if nothing had happened. Total focus. I presented 2 new campaigns to an international client and was praised by the board. But behind the scenes I was rewriting my own narrative. With Harper's help, who has a natural talent for investigating, I began gathering screenshots, emails, and records of everything that proved how much I financially contributed to my parents. Monthly payments I sent directly to their account, travel bookings, even the hotel reservation for the New York trip was in my name. You know how I found out? The system sent me a check-in notification. Yes. They used my reservation. They traveled with what I had bankrolled. I went straight to the credit card operator, contested all the charges. And after that I logged into my bank's app and did the unthinkable. I canceled the automatic monthly transfer of support that I had been sending for almost 2 years. $2,000 per month. More than $20,000 per year. It was almost like rent, and I was paying it as if it were an obligation. The notification came soon. Lorraine. Hi Maya. Did something happen with the bank? This month's transfer didn't go through. I ignored it. Trent. Mom thinks there's a problem with her account. Can you check? Nothing. 2 days later my phone rang. I answered. It was her. Dear, we need to talk. I've been sensing a strange vibe since we got back and your absence on the trip. Well, it was a shame. But you seemed so distant lately. We thought maybe you'd changed your mind. I stopped everything I was doing, took a deep breath, and said, Lorraine, I'm done. I'm tired of being the invisible daughter. The one who pays for everything, who organizes everything, who fixes everything, and who is treated like an appendage. You traveled with my money. You lied to me. And then you acted as if I were ungrateful for being hurt. She sighed as if my pain were merely an inconvenience. It wasn't our intention to exclude you, Maya. You always seem so busy. We just wanted a family moment without tension. Congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. A family moment without me. And I hung up. That same week I posted a discreet text on my Instagram, just for close friends. A kind of vent with no names but filled with truth. Sometimes it's not about the trip you missed, but about what you realized when you weren't invited. Sometimes being left behind is the best thing that can happen to you, because it's what finally makes you go your own way. The comments caught me by surprise. Childhood friends, college mates, even exes commented or sent messages saying things like, I always saw how they treated you, you deserve more, proud of you. For the first time I felt seen, and strangely free. A month later I did something no one expected, perhaps not even myself. I used part of the money I had saved since I cut off the monthly support and bought a ticket to New York. But this time it was just for me. I booked a boutique hotel in Brooklyn, bought tickets to the same musical they had seen and commented on Harper's post. Going to live the trip they promised, but my way. She replied with a Beyoncé gif saying, boss move. It was the best trip of my life. I wandered every corner with a quiet feeling of victory. I ate alone at the restaurant Lorraine always dreamed of going to, but claimed was not my style. I sat in Central Park with a coffee and wrote in my diary. They went to New York without me. Now I'm the one living without them. When I returned, my home felt different. It wasn't just the space, it was what I had become inside it. I no longer felt like that daughter waiting for approval. I was a whole woman. And they would soon realize that. 2 days after returning from New York, I received an unexpected invitation on WhatsApp. It was a new group created by Lorraine called Family. The description read, let's leave the past behind and reconnect. I laughed. Really? I let out a short, dry laugh in the middle of the room, the kind of laugh that only comes out when the absurd blends with exhaustion. In the group were Lorraine, Ron, Trent, and now me. The first message was from my stepfather. Hi Maya. I hope you enjoyed your trip. Your mom really missed you on our outing. Let's schedule a lunch. Then Trent. I think we could have a nice chat. We are family, right? The magic word, family. Always used as an excuse to sweep abuse under the rug, to erase resentments and rewrite history as if there were never any mistakes, just misunderstandings. I decided to reply. But not with irony nor with anger. This time with clarity. Hi everyone. It's nice that you're thinking of reconnecting. I just want to make a few things clear. I wasn't accidentally left out. You used my reservation, my money, and deliberately excluded me. I'm not hurt. I'm clear-headed. So yes, we can talk. But not to pretend that nothing happened. I have changed. And whoever wants me around will have to get to know me all over again. Silence for hours. Then Lorraine replied with a short audio message. Dear, you're taking everything personally. It was a miscommunication. Let's not turn this into a family fight. You know you were always part of everything. Those words hurt, but not as much as before. They hurt less because they no longer carried the same weight. I was no longer part of that anymore. At least not in the way they wanted. The following week, Harper called me for dinner with friends who were launching a sustainable events project, and they needed an experienced marketing consultant. The dinner turned into a meeting. The meeting turned into a brainstorm. And in the end, they made me an offer to be the founding partner of a new company. Small in the beginning, of course, but mine. With purpose. With freedom. And guess what? I used part of the money I used to send my parents every month to invest in my own idea. For the first time, I was using my resources for myself. Without guilt. Without what-ifs. Without fear of seeming selfish. Because wanting to protect yourself from those who hurt you isn't selfish. It's self-care. Lorraine still sent periodic messages. We miss you. Trent asked about you. Saw an article that reminded me of your work. But none of that came with responsibility, nor with a genuine apology, just attempts to pull the narrative back into their comfort zone. Until one day I received a notification that Ron had tagged my name in a Facebook post. I went to check it. It was an old photo of the four of us in front of the house. Caption read, "Family is where love begins and never ends." The old narrative trying to rewrite itself. I didn't comment. I didn't share. But I posted a photo of myself alone on the Brooklyn Lookout, the same place where I quietly cried during my trip. The caption was simple. Some homes you build within yourself. I received 347 likes. And more importantly, a message from Joy, my aunt who lives in another city and has always been the most clear-headed in the family. Proud of you. Finally setting boundaries. I've always seen you. I never stopped seeing you. I cried. A lot. But this time with relief. A month later, the family lunch finally happened. At first, silence. Lorraine hugged me with that insincere, habitual warmth, but she hesitated for a second. He felt it. Trent pretended everything was normal. Ron smiled, trying to break the ice. I sat at the table. I didn't put on a scene. I didn't bring any resentment. But I also didn't try to soften the atmosphere. I was there as a visitor, not as someone who belonged. During dessert, Lorraine commented, "Maybe we messed up the way we handled the trip." And then for the first time in my life, I interrupted her. "You messed up with the content too, not just the form." She stopped. Swallowed hard. "Lorraine," I continued, "I didn't come here to fight. But I'm not here to pretend everything is okay either. I've learned that I'm not responsible for keeping this bond together alone. And from now on, if it is to exist, it must be reciprocal. Otherwise, it won't exist at all." The silence that followed was among the most sincere I have ever experienced in that house. There were no major confrontations after that lunch. No scandal. No worthy apology. And honestly, that's fine. Because at that moment I understood that not all revenge needs noise. Sometimes the true cry is the silence that comes from freedom. After that meeting, the family group continued to exist, but silently. Messages disappeared. Calls vanished too. The last one was a photo of Lorraine with Trent in a new cafe in town. The caption read, "Gratitude for those who have always stood by our side." I laughed. Because for a long time I was the one who was always there. Invisible. Silent. Tireless. But no more. My life was different now. I had become a partner in a project that truly excited me. We started small with ecological events and sustainability workshops. But in just 2 months, we already had 2 contracts with brands eager to associate their names with the cause. I began going out more, laughing more, sleeping better. And for the first time, I no longer felt that constant guilt for not being available to everyone. Harper used to say, "You're shining in a new way, Maya." And I truly was. Not because someone placed me on a pedestal, but because at last I had stepped off a stage that was never mine, and built my own foundation. One random Saturday, while organizing some old files, I found a folder with notes from the original trip to New York. Lists of restaurants, maps, reservations, even the birthday card I was going to give Ron on the day of the special outing I had planned. I read the card in silence. It said, You always took care of me even though you aren't my biological father. This trip is a way to show my gratitude. I closed the envelope again. I didn't cry. I didn't tear it up. I kept it. Because what I felt there wasn't anger. It was mourning. Mourning for a family I had dreamed of having, but that never existed in the way I needed. A few weeks later, I received an unexpected phone call. It was Joy, my aunt, the only person on that side of the family who had always been constant. I wanted to know if I could visit you. I'm spending some time around here and would love to see you. She arrived with a lemon cake and a sincere smile. We sat on the porch, had coffee, and she said bluntly, "Lorraine called me. She said you're different. Cold." I smiled. Maybe I am. But it's a coldness that warms me. She laughed, shaking her head. You know, she doesn't yet understand what she's lost. But she will. Time takes its toll. And absence weighs heavily. We sat there in silence. And for the first time in years I felt part of something familiar, even if it was just between two people. At the end of the year, I organized a small closing party with the Sustainable Project team. Harper was there, of course, with a glass of wine and an olive green dress that she swore was ugly and chic at the same time. When it was time for the toast, someone called me up to speak. "Say a few words, Maya. This place exists because of you." I stepped onto the makeshift stage, my heart racing. I looked at every face there. People who respected me, who believed in me not for what I did for them but for who I was. I took the microphone and said, "For a long time I tried to fit into a place that was never made for me. I lowered the volume of my voice, diminished my desires, became useful just to be accepted. But the truth is, no one should have to lose themselves to be loved. This project was born from what was left after I left everything behind. And today I see, it wasn't leftovers. It was the most vital part of me. Thank you for seeing me in full." Applause. Hugs. Sparkling eyes. And within me, peace. The kind that needs no explanation. Today I look back with affection, not regret. They left me behind on a journey that was supposed to be a family trip. But deep down it was the push I needed to travel back to myself. And, ironically, it was there that I found the home I had been searching for all along. Not in New York. Not in the names of WhatsApp groups. But within me. My name is Maya. And I was not left aside. I was set free. What did you think of this story of revenge and justice? Leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments and tell me which moment was your favorite. Would you have done something differently? Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and don't miss any of our stories full of twists and impactful endings.